Venezuela's Juan Guaido declares himself president. White House recognizes Juan Guaido as president of Venezuela. You can just do that? Hey everyone, I'm Prime Minister of Canada now. Kazakhstan recognizes Matthew as Prime Minister of Canada. Nice. Part 1. Coups are bad. Coups are bad. And America wants a coup in Venezuela. Marco Rubio. U.S. military intervention could solve Venezuelan crisis. Trump administration discussed coup plans with rebel Venezuelan officers. Venezuela's opposition leader says he's in talks with military officials to oust Maduro. Tillerson invokes possibility of Pinochet-style coup in Venezuela. But who was this Pinochet guy? Part 2. Who was this Pinochet guy? In 1970, Salvador Allende was elected president of Chile. One of Allende's policies was to nationalize the copper mining industry, which didn't sit well with the corporations that owned said mines. So, on September 11, 1973, a CIA-backed coup occurred, which put Augusto Pinochet into power. Under Pinochet, the proportion of people living below the national poverty line went from 20% to over 44%, and proportion without adequate housing went from 27% to 40%. Part 3. Guatemala. In 1951, Jacobo Arbenz was elected president of Guatemala. His government passed Decree 900, which redistributed 1.4 million acres of land from large corporations to 500,000 poor people. Land from large corporations like the United Fruit Company, or as you know them today, Chiquita. The UFC spent $500,000 lobbying US Congress, and many members of Eisenhower's government were shareholders in the company. So, America started Operation PB Success to overthrow Arbenz. In May, the CIA spread anti-Arbenz propaganda in Guatemala through the Voice of Liberation radio program. In June, backed by the CIA, Carlos Armas led an army from Honduras and El Salvador to attack bordering Guatemalan towns. Later that month, bombs were dropped over Guatemala City, Puerto Barrios, and San Pedro de Copan. Eventually, Armas's army captured the city of Chiquimula, and Arbenz resigned from office June 27th. Following Arbenz's overthrow, Guatemala was plunged into decades of civil war, when up to 200,000 people were killed, mainly by the government. Well, the US has overthrown democracies and replaced them with terrible dictatorships, but what does that have to do with Venezuela? Isn't Venezuela already a terrible dictatorship? Part 4. Isn't Venezuela already a terrible dictatorship? No. In 2012, former US President Jimmy Carter said, "Of the 92 elections that we've monitored, I would say the election process in Venezuela is the best in the world." But very few Venezuelans went out to vote in the 2018 elections. Well, very few Americans went out to vote in the 2016 election. But that doesn't make it okay for China to overthrow the US government and put Jill Stein in charge. But the government is starving the Venezuelan people. No, not really. The death rate by malnutrition is lower than most Latin American countries, and even France. So, why isn't the USA attempting to overthrow France? But maybe the US coup won't turn Venezuela into another Guatemala. Maybe it'll just make it go back to how it was before the current government came to power. That would be good, right? 1994, failure of high-flying banks shakes Venezuelan economy. Venezuelans are paying for the bank failures with high inflation, reduced government services, and shrinking economic activity. Venezuela, majority of workforce earns less than minimum salary. The low income combined with continuously high inflation, 71% in 1994 and 57% in 1995, have led over the past 3 months to a fall in demand for food, ranging from 25% for milk to 50% for fruit. Well, be sure to like, share, and subscribe.